Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 243 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. Today, we're going to go over a neat thing that comes out between AILA and the Department of State, where they have a session where they talk about different questions regarding the consular processing and Department of State processing. It's usually a long document, and I just picked out the parts that stood out to me the most. I thought I'd go over so you hear it because a lot of people don't read this. Hopefully, do it every quarter, so that doesn't always happen. And this one, they couldn't meet in person. It had to be like a notes only. You sent the questions and they answered them. But it's really helpful. It's somewhat of a source. You could always use this in your communications with DOS, but not always. But it's just really good to know, give you an idea. And some of the stuff I don't think is correct what they're claiming, but we'll go over it. But it's just a really helpful thing. Before we start, I want to remind everybody you got the magazine, the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Trade Magazine. Great information in there to help you become a better practitioner, both on the law and on the business side. Check it out at immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. It's a work of love and passion. I really appreciate if you just look at it, take a look, and then be like, wow, that's so great. You're going to want to read all of them and really get hooked. I'm really proud of the work that our colleagues have done in the trade magazine. I also want to thank the sponsors, particularly DACAwise.com. They recently got bought and by another company. In my case, just last night, it was announced it was bought by Affinity Pay, which is LawPay. So a lot of corporate restructuring going on, but the product is good. Check it out, DACAwise.com. Get additional 10% off your annual plan by going to DACAwise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast. Use the code Immigration Lawyers Podcast. And, they're all-in-one form software. Give it a shot. You get a free trial. See if you like it. Very intuitive kind of process. Very easy to fill out and plug stuff in. That's what I like the most about it when I got it. It was just easier to just use the software. So definitely check that out. If you're interested in learning about marriage immigration, I just did a talk yesterday with AILA's Law Students Committee, and they were talking to all these law students in preparation for the conference. And people were like, how do we learn this stuff? What courses? How do we just have someone hold our hand? I'm like, well, I got a course for that. It's called the Champions for Freedom course. And the whole idea behind the name is that you get your freedom by being able to get a skill that can make you good money, and then you help other people in the immigration field get their field. I mean, clients, that is, because immigration really leads to freedom coming to the United States and have the opportunity that we have here. So we're champions for freedom, and it's a great course. I really, I'm very proud of it. And office hours we do and regular follow up with the students, and they're all really happy with it. So I'm really excited about offering this product. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com if you're interested in that. If you're interested in just asking me any question, I'm doing a AMA, what's called Ask Me Anything. So if I get a couple good questions, and then I'll do a podcast just answering personal, business, law, whatever it is, and we'll see what happens. Just email me with that. And let me see on my to-do list of things I'm supposed to mention at the beginning. There's always some more stuff I got to talk about, but I can't recall. So let's jump into it. So you could download this liaison meeting. The AILA document is number 22060703. Again, that's 220-60703. It was just published a couple of days ago. So let's go through it. If you're watching on the video, I'll have a share screen on it. The page is kind of small. Let me make it bigger so it's more visible. All right. So I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm kind of going to skim the parts I highlighted that are interesting for me, but I guess I should go over some stats. So what is the monthly volume of immigrant cases the NVC processes? And they say average NVC performs case creation for nearly 18,000 petitions and reviews supporting forms and documents for another 87,000 cases per month. So, when they're taking forever, they make mistakes. They're doing a lot of cases, 87,000 cases per month. That's 1 million per year. What is the monthly volume of non-immigrant fiance cases? They say only 1,900 fiance visas per month. So, I definitely in my practice, I would say it's 1 out of 10 cases fiance visas as opposed to marriage cases. But it shows even their numbers. I guess everyone's practice is the same. There's a smaller number of fiance visas being created. Now, they said 18,000 petitions are created every month. I mean, is that I-130 petitions or I-140s included in that? I don't know. But that's interesting. Approximately what percentage of cases NVC involve attorney representation? This is a really important stat because the number here is consistent with what USCIS has told the Ombudsman's office for their petitions. They say these counts vary over time, but on average, approximately 30% of documentarily completed cases had legal representation on file. So this is a really important piece of information to know for business practice. So like There's a big pie of people that don't use immigration attorneys that really should, especially with consular processing, because I see it all the time when people come to me try to do it on their own. They make so many mistakes, and it's something that should take a few months, takes a year, takes over a year, where they submit the translation of a document, not the original language, and 3 months later, CEAC comes back NVC and says, "Oh, this wasn't correct." They send it back, or they don't do the IA-64 correctly, and they have to go back and forth several times until it's done. All of a sudden, a year has gone by with an extra bit done, and that's because 70% of cases, on average, are done without lawyers. So there's a lot of opportunity to let people know, hey, you could hire a lawyer from here. There's different lawyers have different price ranges, different types of service, but it's better to have someone with experience doing this. And so that pie there's a lot of that pie left over that we can get. The next thing they talk about is a 1-year contact requirement, which is really, really important. This is when a case is at the National Visa Center. You got to contact them once a year to keep the case alive, or else they terminate it. And they give different ways of doing this. One is by paying the fee. Another is by submitting a document, which can be tracked in CEAC for electronic cases. So you upload a document, use the Ask NVC public inquiry form, just logging into the CEAC account and completing Form DS-260. These are all activities that could show that you would visit in the last year. Of all of these, first of all, logging into the CEAC account, I would not do that the most unreliable way. The most reliable way I would do it is once you go to the Ask NVC public inquiry form, because when you submit it, nowadays you get an automatic response back. So you have some sort of documentation that you did contact them. Because even though I do the NVC public inquiry, a third of the time the case still gets terminated if it takes too long. But at least I have evidence that I did contact them and it was their error. Logging on to CEAC alone is not a good way to do it, because they don't, even though they say that works, I just get too many times where they terminate cases incorrectly. So just prepare for that. I would just always, it's more work. It takes 5 minutes, and 5 minutes, sometimes I'll be talking to clients. I'm like, oh, that's going to take me extra 20 minutes and stuff. And it sounds like I'm being cheap, like, okay, just 20 minutes. Well, we have like 50 cases, each adding 20 minutes. It adds up to a lot. And it just takes your string of thought into one thing. You got to like search when you're doing the public inquiry form. I guess if you have assistant or paralegal, that's a way to go. Have them log in and do the page, because they have the case number, the date of birth, all stuff needed. But that's something to think about. There's a lot of information. I'm going to skip through a lot of it, so I'm just going to ones I highlighted. And watching the video, you can see. One thing is, AILA understands that NVC encourages use of the public inquiry form. However, members can have difficulties accessing NVC. So if you need to escalate something on the public inquiry form, because they stopped the phone number for the NVC and they got rid of the attorney email. But they say that that email address we used to be able to do nvcattorney@state.gov, because it doesn't work anymore. When you do go to the public inquiry form and you fill it out and you say you're coming in as the attorney record in the option of who the person is filling out the form, that will go, they claim, to what was previously the nvcattorney@state.gov email address. So they'll get it. And so that's the thing to do. And if it's important, they're not answering you, when in the box that you fill out to say who you are and stuff like that, what you're thinking about, what you need, you start with attention PI supervisor, and that'll get their attention going on that. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, let's go more. It's 19 pages. We're going to go to probably like 5 pages worth of it. Now, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, just for people dealing with this kind of stuff, they say because the embassy is not working in Moscow, it's not happening. They are sticking with the idea that you have to go to Poland and stuff. So that's something important when it comes to immigrant visa processing. But that's something to think about. If you're dealing with Iranian cases, this is a long-running thing, but Iranian cases go to United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, not Dubai, in Ankara, Turkey, or Yerevan, Armenia. You kind of choose. Sometimes the NVC will, choose it for you, even if you said something else on the I-130 or the I-140. But prepare for that. Now, one thing that happened is a lot of Iranian cases were stuck in this administrative processing after the initial trial ban came on Trump. And when Biden came, he issued executive orders saying we're going to re-review those and fix those up. It took a while. I had one case that had his interview in 2016, 6 years ago, poor guy. And this was a adult child of a U.S. citizen, so he'd already been waiting for a while. But we kept emailing them saying, hey, come on, do it. Finally, like last week, we got an email saying, okay, send your passport over, get the medical checkup. You probably will waive an interview. Come and do it. So those are opening up. He could have filed a lawsuit sooner and got it going, but didn't want to do that. And so that's something that you deal with in Iranian cases. This administrative processing is a nightmare. Transferring files from USCIS, the NVC. They say in collaboration with USCIS, NVC implemented a process to mitigate some of these concerns for paper-based petitions. When receiving a shipment of petitions from the USCIS, so apparently, I'll read the answer. I should read the question. It says AILA members continue to report situations where USCIS approves an I-140, I-485 for the adjustment or principal applicant, and I-24 approving the consular processing of dependents, but fails to issue NVC fee invoices because it has not received the case file from USCIS. Inquiries to USCIS result in assurances that the files have been in fact sent to the NVC, while the NVC insists they have not. This is not just I-140s, this is I-130s as well. And then they say that we're working, collaborating this issue with USCIS to get these shipments. NVC verifies USCIS shipment manifests against shipment contents. If a petition is listed on the manifest but is not contained in the shipment, NVC immediately communicates with USCIS to track down missing petitions. And this kind of hit home for me. I posted one issue that pops up is that, let's say you have an I-130 that you did consular processing, and then the beneficiary ends up being in the United States, and you file for adjustment of status with the cases with the National Visa Center. I always contact National Visa Center saying, send the case back because the person is adjusting status. And I posted this on a Facebook group saying this, and someone responded kind of snarkily and they're like, no, that's not how it works. Like USCIS sends a digital file. You don't know what you're talking about, sends it to me, and you should call NVC. They'll explain it to you. And I was like, all right, jerk. Whoever that was, and probably find that. But here it shows that I was correct. So they are literally sending the paper file by shipment to the NVC. So when the file is there, we do have to request it back if we're going to do adjustment of status because they literally have manifested shipments where they have on the file there. And I send paper-based applications. So it is best to ask them to send the file back. They do it automatically, essentially, but it's always best to just follow up with them. In that scenario I talked about, the NVC will terminate a case too if you don't follow up. So that's one of those things where you got to notify them, keep up with them so they don't terminate the case while the adjustment is pending. But yeah, these are the practical headaches. I guess when they do make it all digital, it'll be easier. They are making that shift. USCIS offices are doing like digital interviews for adjustment of status. So a lot of times they don't even have a case file. It's all online, which is not good because they have to scroll up and down trying to find a document. Paper-based to me is much easier, but that's what we're dealing with. I made a note about Afghan nationals. I don't handle these kind of cases. They have their own special immigrant visas, all this kind of stuff popping up. But there are notes about that you can check if you have that kind of case. Why is this page blank completely? Page 11 is missing. I wonder why. Let's see what else we're going to go over. Okay, processing delays. Once an applicant submits all the required documents to the NVC, on average, how long does it take to determine if the case's documents really qualify? And in response to that, they say NVC processing times continue to be lengthy due to substantial backlogs. Please refer to the NVC timeframe pages on travel.state.gov to track the current document. And so this was interesting. I didn't realize they had this page here that breaks down their estimated times, which is not reliable. It doesn't match what I've actually seen in practice. But let me, I'm waiting for it to load. I'd saved it somewhere, NVC timeframes. So the website is NVC, for those, no, actually I'm not sharing the screen on this because it's a different window, but the website is, it's a long one. Essentially it's NVC timeframes. Maybe do a search for that. travel.state.gov/content/travel E/EN. So it's just too long, but NVC timeframes. And so they say right now, we're recording this on June 10, 2022. It says current case file creation time. Current case creation time frame as of June 6, 2022. We are working on cases that were received from USCIS on May 17, 2022. So they received the case on May 17th. About 2 weeks later, they do case creation, a welcome notice that you get, which is consistent. That's what general time. I have cases that are going longer. I have cases where USCIS approves it, and a day later we get the NVC notice. So it's maybe USCIS sent the case to them before. And I have cases that taking like 3-4 weeks. We still haven't got the welcome notice, but average 2 weeks. That makes sense. And one thing, going through all this consular processing stuff, there's a lot of immigration lawyers that don't do consular processing and don't have consular processing experience. I just was, lucky, I guess, or whatever. From the beginning of my career, I always did a lot of consular processing. So for me, it's like a daily thing to deal with the National Visa Center and CEAC and stuff. But a lot of immigration attorneys don't do it and need to learn this info. And these kind of videos I'm doing, and particularly just the AILA Liaison meeting, is really helpful for understanding the nuances of it. Okay, so current case review time. Currently, review time is the June 6th. So all these times reference June 6th is when they announced these updated timelines. We are reviewing documents submitted to us on March 23rd, 2022. So that's March, April, May, essentially 2.5 months. And that's pretty consistent, 2.5 months for them to review uploaded documents. It's terrible when it comes to timelines because if they come back and say a document is wrong, and for me, half the time when they do that, or 3/4 of the time they do that, or maybe 90% of the time they do that, they're incorrect. They just didn't pay attention to what I sent them. It's going to take another 2.5 months once we correct it for them to review it. So automatically, you got 2.5 to 5 months baked into that cake of NVC delays. But I've had cases where they reviewed it within 2 weeks. It's very rare, but I've had that recently. And historically, about a couple weeks was the norm. But there's a huge backlog, and that's one of the reasons they said they stopped the phone lines to transfer phone line operators to case processing, which is good, I guess. But taking that long to review these kind of things is a mess. And then current public inquiry form response time. As of June 6th, you are responding to inquiries received on April 22nd, April, May, June. So around 2 months, May, June. Did my math wrong. So on the case review time, they're on March 23rd cases, March, April, May, June, about 2.5 months. But responding time to the email around 2 months. That's pretty correct. When you talk months, it's a lot of time. It's very frustrating when couples and family members want to be together, but those timelines are pretty consistent. So very interesting. They have the information there if you need it. I think overall they're pretty consistent. Okay, in the past, AILA has raised, this is an annoying issue. So when you want to upload documents to CEAC, there's a 2 megabyte limitation, and you can't upload zip files and stuff like that. And they have said in the November 2019 liaison meeting that they're going to increase the file size from 2 megabytes to 4 megabytes, which would be really helpful because I constantly have documents that are 2.1 megabytes and I can't make them any lower in resolution. It's been a nightmare of playing games with the scan and the upload if not fix it. But they're like, yeah, we want to do it. Sorry, you haven't done it yet. So that's the answer to that. When uploading supporting tax documentation such as W-2s or 1099s, does NVC require each document to be scanned separately by year, or is it okay to have documents scanned and submitted in one file? Preferably scan each document in a separate file. If a document contains multiple pages, scan all the pages together in a single file. So I do separately upload the W-2s and maybe upload the 1099s with it, but the tax return is separate from the W-2. But they also say NVC strongly recommends submission of tax transcripts since they typically provide the information necessary for an evaluation of the completeness out of support. So, and the file size is smaller. Usually tax transcripts are like 5 or 6 pages as opposed to a federal income tax return. That could be hundreds of pages sometimes. And, I've tried to get my own tax transcript and I couldn't from the IRS website. So whenever I ask my clients, which is I always ask clients to get tax transcript, I'm always like, how do they get it? They get exactly able to get it. There's so many things they got to ask and do and stuff. I can't even figure it out. But yeah, tax transcript is so much better. And the DOS in general, the embassies are preferring that. Every once in a while, one will come back and want the return, but the tax transcripts really go. So that was my quick notes on this. This is a 19-page liaison meeting. I just went over the big ones that really affect my practice, and I see it pop up as good educational kind of stuff. But definitely check that out. If you haven't already, check out the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine at immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. And follow us on social media. We get Instagram page where we post a lot of information, quick clips of hundreds of clips with all the interviews you do. Really go into like some good points. You'll learn a lot from there. Check out the LinkedIn page, Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, constantly updating news and information there. On the YouTube page, it's over 1,000. I think I got 1,500 subscribers, which is really good. More than most immigration attorney pages, just on clips for immigration lawyers, going over educational material. So check that out. And if you're interested in learning about, marriage-based cases, consular processing, in a disability, all this stuff, I have the course for you. Just email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. I just realized on the video, I didn't change the logo. It's my law firm logo. Should be the podcast logo. And the email is my law firm email as well. I should update this stuff, but I forgot to click the buttons. But hey, most people listen on the podcast anyway, so it should be okay. That's it, everybody. Talk soon. Bye.